Awesome. Sydney, thanks so much for being here in your psychedelic studio. What is that a picture of there in the on your back, right?
Oh, like right over here?
Yeah. Oh, it's like a
It's
lion.
a lion, yeah.
Pretty sweet. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad to have you here. You've progressed so much in such a short period of time. It's really remarkable. And like a lot of people who kind of get started in their sort of mental health journey, I remember towards the beginning, your sort of hopes of actually making changes were relatively low, if that's fair to say. I think, you were, a little bit despondent. But really today, I want it to be a celebration for you, of course. And then I know there are going to be some people who are listening who will be able to find a piece of themselves in your story. And I want it to be an opportunity where you can maybe provide some insights on some things they could do right away, or some things you want them to keep in mind as they're kind of progressing forward. But maybe to start, can you just give a little introduction to yourself and what stage of life you were in sort of prior to our working together, just to kind of set the stage would be great.
Of course. So, of course, my name is Sydney Diston. And I had started the program, maybe that was back in September, so I think I want to say. And I remember prior to starting the program, I was just in a very kind of, it felt like the best word I could use is lost almost. It's almost as if I had hit like a wall of anxiousness and, kind of just this breakdown. And it was kind of like a what next type of thing in my life. And I knew I needed to make some changes, first of all. And one thing I can say that I hope would provide some positive feelings for people out there that are struggling is to never give up, first of all. I mean, I know a lot of people say that, but, even though I had been in some of the darkest parts of my life, I always made sure to remember, you know, there's nowhere else you can go but up. You can't get lower and things will get better day by day. And I think that's one thing a lot of people don't think about. Um, but yeah, I mean, but prior to doing the program, I had been struggling pretty badly with daily anxiety. I was into my sophomore year of college, so things were getting a little stressful. I had also really had kind of this mental breakdown. It almost seemed like when I was even a freshman in college, and um, like I said, it just felt like nothing was helping. I had tried therapy. I mean, even back when I was in high school, I had tried medication and all these methods, and it just didn't seem to suffice. And it's almost like, um, you sorry, trying to think of a good way to put this, but it's almost like with therapy or just using medication, it's almost like you can't quite figure out what's really wrong. And I think that's what was bothering me the most about, you know, my struggle and everything is I'm the type of person that was always like, What's wrong with me? What's going on?" Like, I wanted maybe more of a deeper insight onto what's really going on and why am I thinking and feeling this way. And I think it's really important that people do get more clear on the way our brains work and physiology and everything that I have been taught throughout this program because, with therapy, it's almost like I was being taught to cope with it. They would say, "Oh, well, these things will get better, blah, blah, blah." Like just simple exercises that didn't seem to do much for me. But doing this program, it's like I got to get real down and see what's going on with my mind and why I am thinking that way. And it's like a life changing thing, it all opens up and you see why these things happen and that a lot of things can be repetition or pattern because of, a bad experience in our lives or whatnot. But, that was the biggest breakthrough for me is because I had always been someone that's like, I need to know what's wrong. And, that's what really helped me. And, the hardest part I would say when I was journeying through the program was being consistent for sure. There are some times when I admit I'd gotten a little bit lazy, but I always got back on track because, when you think about it, you really want to put your mental health first. I mean, it's like physical health. We always want that to be first. Why not mental health as well?
Right.
Um, and it was just really important that I realized that because, you know, struggling with panic and, I even used to struggle with thoughts of like impending doom or like, nothing is gonna be okay. I was very negative. I didn't want to be happy for other people or myself. And I had to realize, that's not gonna serve me at all. And if I keep going through life like that, what is there for me
Mhm.
to enjoy? I mean, I'm just being honest with myself with that. But
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just proud of myself and I really want other people, to hear and understand my message because, it may seem like things are quite literally impossible, but you'd be surprised at what you're capable of and, what you can work through. I mean, it's just amazing.
Right.
So,
That's beautiful. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. So the, I remember even too, you were describing, um, well, for one thing I wanted to take a note on is you said before you were dealing with things kind of at the surface, right? It's like there's the problems down here, and then they pop up these little surface level things. And I think this is where most people hang out, is they're really addressing what's going on here. Like they feel like they can't get their daily routine in check, their energy is down, their anxious thoughts popping up, and they're essentially told, okay, well, let's kind of smooth the waters out, but they never really get clear on, yeah, but why is this happening? And that's kind of what you got clear on, because it's easy for people to think that what the problem is the problem, and it's usually not. That's like the case with every client I've ever had. Like, for instance, you had one of the things you had mentioned was you were having kind of some flashbacks to some experiences, right? From before, like your mind was really fixated on some events of the past. And it's really easy for people to define what they're going through today and essentially say, well, the cause of why I'm feeling today is what happened before. And you learned that, well, no, now you get to experience daily life profoundly different, even though the past has not changed, and it's, you've processed it different. So I think that's a good thing for people to get. If we're taking the number one key from your story, I think it would be get to the real root of the problem. That seems to be a key thing. The second thing it seems you're communicating is find a method that's going to get to the root of the problem, and then you have to stay consistent with it, because it was not a straight line. I always try to tell people, like, nothing in nature grows in a straight line. Just look out your window. Neither do we. So you definitely stuck consistent, and you had to apply it and dig deep. Would there be one or two other like major light bulbs you feel like you had, or key things you would impart to people that they could take away from our conversation today and maybe apply it now, or at least keep it in mind as they're kind of deciding where they're going to head from here?
yeah, for sure. I guess another thing I was deeply thinking about, even this morning, prior to the interview, I mean, another thing that I think just really popped out to me when going through, doing the program and figuring things out was getting clear on my beliefs. First of all, I think a lot of people that, struggle in life, they tend to lose that aspect of themselves sometimes, like, who am I and what do I really believe and what do I really want? And, I think that itself is something that really pops out to people. People always need, a sense of purpose, and we all have a sense of purpose, of course. But I think that's something that a lot of people should know is that, as someone that kind of struggled with that, even prior to when I started, I really questioned who I was a lot. Like, who am I? Like, and it kind of scared me, honestly. Like, it would induce like panic or something. I was like, wow, like things are changing, I need to start getting clear on what I believe and what I want to do and you know and things like that. And I just want to really emphasize that because I think that itself can really be a game changer for a lot of people in their mental state is we get lost, deeply in feelings of depression or anxiety at times. And that's when we start to sometimes lose track of what we really want to do, or, what we truly believe, and, and things like that. And I just wanted to emphasize that because that's something that really helped me to recover, completely, even is that, wow, like I've found like who I am. I know who Sydney is. It's not something that's blurry and something that makes me feel uneasy.
Yeah. That's a really, really awesome point that you brought up. Actually, I'm glad you did. I don't think I would have thought of that, but it's so key in everyone's process. I'll very often, when I do an initial call with somebody just to see if I can support them in any way, I'll ask them, so what do you really want in your life? And they'll go, well, I don't want this, and I don't want this, and I don't want this, and I don't want to feel like this anymore. And I'll say, whoa, 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 no, 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 hold on. What do you want? And then they'll go, well, and there will be this big long moment of silence. And, they're essentially kind of saying, wow, I haven't thought about that in a long time. And it's like, well, if all of your daily life is consumed with what you don't want, life becomes a miserable chore that you're just trying to get through. And I think people are either just afraid to ask the question, or it never has really occurred to them to stop the daily patterns of just going through the motions and making every single day the same as it always is. Just like, and anybody watching this, like, to stop and pause and go, if your life were really how you want it today, what would that look like? Like, what would be the 2 or 3 major things that would really be a part of that? And then if you can just start, even on your own accord, directing yourself towards making that happen, you already get that sense of progress in motion. And it's the thing I tell people is how I've stayed depression free for, going on 17 years now. And how anybody maintains being a depression free lifestyle is you have to have something you're moving towards that is exciting. You have to have an idea of like what you want life to look like, that you're moving towards, and really decide what matters to you. That's what you said. This whole program gets you to ask those questions that we should have been introduced to, I believe, in high school, but no one really asks us, like, what do you really want your life to be about? And are you living in alignment with that? Because otherwise you're not going to be fulfilled. So it's a really great message. So I know that your whole life is changing in exciting ways. There's so many things we could point to, but for the sake of time, I mean, your focus improved. I know your schoolwork, your ability to just keep your mind in a single place was improved. Your already good marriage has improved. I know that, because it just frees up emotional space. As you're kind of looking ahead of life now, or ahead to life, what are you excited about? What do you feel is possible? What's in store in the future for you?
For sure. Well, currently I'm still a student. I actually go to school here at the University of Wyoming. So I'm a junior and in college. So I have a few more years under my belt. I'm really excited to get through my schooling. I've never felt more passionate about it now, because I've really gotten clear on that too, instead of thinking, oh, like I have to do class. But it's changed. It's like, wow, I'm actually so excited. Like I get to go to, in-person class again. Things are going back to normal. There's so much to be grateful for and happy for. And I am studying nutrition and dietetics, and I would say in the distant future my goals are to be a registered dietitian. I really want to help people, um, you know, have a healthy relationship with food, whether whatever field I go into for that, most likely maybe hospital work. I just really want to help people, you know, be educated on food and nourishing themselves and feeling good. I
Mhm.
always think, and we didn't evolve to feel crappy and stuff like that when it comes to
Yeah.
nutrition and whatnot. So that's something I've been increasingly passionate about. And I try to actively, maybe volunteer at the soup kitchen, just be a part of things that are related to the field as well. I'm just really, really excited, for what's in store. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but that's a good thing for me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's what I'm mainly focused on. And I'm also really happy, in my marriage. I'm really proud of my husband, and he's studying to be an engineer, and very smart. So things are just excellent right now, honestly. And I think I'm going to be able to keep that momentum going, and I think I'll always be able to be excited for whatever comes my way.
That's beautiful.
So,
It's beautiful.
yeah.
Well, if we're going to summarize for the people viewing, I think what I've kind of pulled out of speaking with you here is, if we were going to summarize this into three little major steps or takeaways, obviously it's more steps than that, but three things people could walk away from this with. I think maybe changing the order slightly, it would be get clear on what you really want. What do you want life to be about? How do you want to feel? What are you kind of no longer willing to settle for? And I think that was the big thing I told you when we first got started working together. Like, this has to be a must for this to change. And anyway, so that's the first thing I'd have people keep in mind. I think you'd agree. Second would be, recognize that you can either address things at the surface, but if you go deeper, you'll feel that real sense of closure. Like, oh, now I get it. And that comes from a study of how the mind really works. And I will advise people viewing, because unfortunately there's so much stuff out there. It's so easy to believe through Googling, tell me about depression, tell me about anxiety. So much of what's out there is about, well, did this happen in your past? So much of it is looking in the past. And that's not necessarily what we mean by getting down to the root of it. A lot of people tell me, oh, I know what the root of it was. It was because my father was a bastard. I'm like, well, no, that's not the root of what's going on right now. It's not why you're experiencing what you're experiencing daily. But we got to get down to the root. And then third, which you really demonstrated in strides, and I think you're a role model for people in this way tremendously, is stay consistent on a process that addresses it, even when it feels difficult, or even when you don't feel like it necessarily, because the rewards on the other side are so absolutely worth it. And you proved that. That's part of why I wanted to showcase your story, because it wasn't always easy. Not every day felt perfect. But there's a moment where you feel like you're pushing the boulder and it's not moving, and then it starts to roll, and then now it's rolling, and I don't think you could catch it if you wanted to. Now, it's just, life is a beautiful thing, and it's great. So, any last words you would have for anybody viewing? Anything you would say to yourself from several months ago that you think somebody might want to hear?
Um, I would say, just to anyone watching, or even just myself way back in the beginning, I would mainly say these two words, and it's be hopeful, because you can't always look at everything black and white. And I think that's a lot of the thinking I had going into doing the program, and, teaching myself to really get clear with all these things we were discussing. It'll change you, and you can't always look at everything as this is going so badly. It's like, what I've been taught through the program, let's look at everything that is going well. We're going to have bad days, and you're not going to be perfect. And that's another thing I would say is don't expect perfection.
Mhm.
Too many people expect perfection. So many people profusely apologize for doing things. I mean, we need to just be gentle with ourselves, most importantly, and let the process work itself with you.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, Sydney, I am incredibly blessed to have gotten to know you. It's been my privilege to work with you. I am encouraged to hear future good news from you. Please stay in touch. And thank you so much for using your journey as a way to contribute to other people and inspire them to make some changes. So we're all grateful for that. And I just have all the greatest hopes for you and your husband. And I'm excited to see where life takes you. Of
Sure. Thank you so much.
course. Absolutely. All right. Take care for now, Sydney. Bye.